Okay, so hello and welcome to another Next Steps Live Q&A. We're being joined by Ash, who's a former apprentice and is now a full-time employee at Coventry College. We request that all participants leave their cameras off because we are recording this. However, we do invite you to unmute yourselves and ask any questions to Ash that are relevant to his experience as a former apprentice. Alternatively, if you are unable to or don't feel confident in asking the questions over your microphone, please put them in the chat and I can put them to Ash. So I'm now going to open it up so anyone can ask Ash any questions about life as an apprentice. I think someone's typing in the chat. How did you find your apprenticeship?
I did it. I was an apprentice for 3 years. So it was advertised externally, and then I went for it that way. There was a few of us that went for it, and I started. Luckily, I started during Freshers Week, so we had that excitement of meeting with all of the external organisations. Sorry, so that was brilliant. So from early doors, as soon as we started with the external organisations, I was aware of how much support there was out there for young people, and how that would help with my apprenticeship, with my studies as well, because there was a lot of external support that I reached out for coursework and for assignments and things. Obviously, I was doing business administration level 2 and level 3. So a lot of the stuff that we needed, I would do as my role with getting organisations in and stuff. So helped out with all the explaining to me from early days on the policies and procedures, the safeguarding, all of the really key important things of specifically working in a college as well, which really helped. There was like the external visitor forms, there was the all of the risk assessments and all of that. So from straight away, as soon as I started, it showed us what all of the important documents and paperwork that needed in line with my qualification, which was really good from straight on. So yeah, and then I balancing my work and my coursework and my job I found it a lot easier than other people did in the organisation, because we specifically within the team made sure there was certain times and hours that I could just get on with assignments and things, which was always good. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really good fun 3 years. So
yeah. Another question from the chat is, would you say that apprenticeships are a good alternative to university for young people who struggle in class?
I'd say absolutely. I've never done university. One day maybe, who knows? But I found I'm so much more of a hands-on learner, and if I've got something that right in front of me, I'll pick it up so much quicker than I would in a class, sort of in lessons and stuff like that. So I found applying what I was learning throughout the weeks and during my studies to everyday life was so much easier. So I found it. I found it a lot easier than I can imagine universities and stuff. Yeah.
Question from the chat: what is an apprenticeship like?
It's hard work. It is hard work. I've said it a few times. It was so much fun because literally every single day was completely different. No matter what day of the week it was, there was always something you could apply. What you were learning at the time on your qualifications, on your assignments, you could apply that to your everyday workings and things. Like I said, even like around external visitors and the policies and stuff. I was a student governor for 3 years, and I found that helped massively with assignments and things for performance indicators, business growth, all of those things, gaining the experience that I had being an apprentice, that I think I don't think I would have got it if it was just a case of in a class or online and stuff. I think it really benefited me, and I really enjoyed it. It was really good fun.
Great. Another question from the chat is, what are the pros and cons for taking an apprenticeship for you?
The pros for me were real life experiences of an industry, which I thought beforehand, I'd thought of it, but I hadn't really sat down and actually thought, okay, so this is going to be full on, it's a full-time job, full-time qualification, all at the same time. So that's a bit of a pro and a con. That it was full on, it was really hard work to balance the two. And I will be very open. I am useless with keeping my own time. I will sit there and procrastinate about assignments and things until the very last minute. So I think that having that experience with working and studying, it kind of taught me that I needed to prioritize my tasks. I knew that if I had an assignment due in a fortnight, I had a few days to go over it, to get some feedback from my tutor of what they wanted and things, and then I had a solid 7 days to sit and work through my assignments and stuff. Another pro is that you're meeting people in the industry that you're working in, who will know far more than you know at that point. So there was administrators in different teams and things, and if there was something I wasn't quite sure on, I could go and find them and just be like, give me a hand, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing, how can I word this, how do I go about that? What I found really beneficial, especially being based in a college doing my apprenticeship, is my assessor was on site most of the time. So if there was a time where I was having a little bit of an issue with it, I could go and find her and go, could you help me out? Could you reword this? You know, I did my apprenticeship. I was 5 years, so I was about 23, 24. So I was a little bit older than most apprentices. And there was a lot of my friends who have done apprenticeships beforehand had warned me that, you know, as a mature learner, it's a lot harder because people presume that you're, I don't want to say a normal member of staff, but that you're not in training. So they assume that you already know this stuff. But then you're building a relationship with the people that you're working with. You just soak up their knowledge. It's really, yeah, that was definitely the biggest perk for me. So.
Sounds like there was a really big balance between the sort of all of the pros of getting that hands-on experience, but also the con is that it's actually really hard work, probably harder than a lot of people expect apprenticeships
Absolutely.
to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So another question from the chat is, what was your proudest moment as an apprentice?
Oh, I'm not sure. That's a really hard question. Because I'm really bad on being positive on myself. I actually, so I'd say from going back from mentioning that I started during Freshers Week, in my last year as an apprentice, there was a time where it was just myself and another colleague because of maternity leave and stuff in the team, and because I had the benefit of working through the summer, I had time to sit and plan out a freshers fair mainly on my own, which I really enjoyed. Again, you're touching base with external organisations, you're creating those links with other people. So I'd say the opening day of freshers that academic year, so my last year of the 3, was a really, really proud moment, I think, when we had an area that was nice and full. We had grab bags and freebies and things. We had external organisations coming in constantly. I'd say that was probably one of the best bits of that for me, to see the change in those 3 years of where I started and where I'd progressed to, definitely.
That sounds really interesting. So what would you say the flip side of that then was the hardest thing about being an apprentice?
Oh, I'd say the studying and on the side of working as well full time, and of course a lot of people forget that your tutors you're not your only tutor student, which I often forgot, and I got frustrated when I'm like, well, I need some support on this and I can't get through to my tutor. But then these tutors often have like 100 of their apprentices off site and can range from it can be within the city or outside, so they have a really high workload as well. I'd say one of the most difficult things for me was not having a tutor on hand all the time while I was learning for, you know, and I was doing my functional skills as well as my business admin, and I found that really difficult with having to flip from independent study and then sitting in the classroom for 3 hours once a week. So yes, it was the learning the new ways of studying I found quite difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Has anyone got anything else like put in the chat, or any more questions to Ash? In the meantime, what would your top tips be for anyone thinking about doing an apprenticeship?
I said most definitely. My top tip would be, as soon as you get an assignment, sit and read it through. And don't do what I did every single time and put it off and put it off and put it off, because it will build up. It gets to a point where towards the end of the year, where you can have 4 or 5 different units sitting to be finished, and don't get comfy at the thought of knowing I've only got 3 weeks until my qualifications are finished. You might you might get to the point where you're like, well, I know I'm in employment for another few months, but I've only got 3 weeks left of my qualifications. Don't let your courses build up, because those 3 weeks can be really tough. You'll get resubmissions. You'll get you need to keep your hour log. So yeah, don't get too comfy in the gaps between. And if you need to do your functional skills, treat your functional skills qualifications exactly the same as your business admin, because it's tough doing all of them all together, but you don't want to you don't want them all to mount up all at the end, because it'll just stress you out, especially when you've got a full-time job to keep up with as well.
Great, that's really good. Were you tempted to do a degree apprenticeship?
Yeah, I looked into it, and did think of you know, again, pros and cons of that. I decided against it in the end, because I wanted to specifically stay more in the area that I was working in. Although the business admin was fantastic, and I've gained a lot of really positive experiences from that. In the avenue that I wanted to go into down the line, it didn't quite match up at the time. But I don't think 5 years ago, before my apprenticeship, I would never have even thought about university and further progressions. Since my apprenticeship, and knowing that I was able to balance work and study, I've done my certificate in education and training, so I know that I'm able to do that. So instead of the degree apprenticeship, I found other ways around that from my experience as an apprentice. So yeah.
Great. And can you also give us an idea of what your sort of next steps for your career progression will be then?
I don't know. I'm one of those that I'm very strict myself. I like a 5-year plan, and which doesn't work when you work in FE, because every day is completely different. My plan is eventually to, in an ideal world, is to get my degree and work out that way. Whether that be specifically in the field I'm in now, or whether that's slightly different, I'm not sure. But again, with doing an apprenticeship in something I would never have, if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, would I have done an apprenticeship in business administration? Absolutely not. So I think that I've no idea what's next, and it's quite exciting. And because of my apprenticeship, I've got those experiences that I can transfer to lots of other areas. You know, business admin is one of those that's really transferable in most industries. So yeah. But I'm comfy at the moment. So yeah.
Great. Right. Thank you, Ash, and thank you everyone for your questions. I hope you've enjoyed this Next Steps live Q&A. Please join us at 5 o'clock for Lewis and his top tips to the student experience and information that you may need to know if you are thinking about going to university. If you have any questions that you wanted to ask Ash, someone's just joining, but I'm afraid it's time to go. If you do have any questions that you would like to ask Ash but haven't had a chance to ask him yet, please just send them in an email to info@thinkhigher.co.uk and I can forward them on to Ash and get back to you with a response. In the meantime, thank you so much, Ash, and thank you everyone for joining.
No worries, thank you.